Well, hello. This is Susan for SLC Aquatics coming to you live tonight, this Tuesday evening. And I want to thank you all for coming in and joining us and sharing it out. And don't forget to click that like button. I'm really excited tonight because I have a very special guest. And to me, he's very special. I don't know. We bonded really fast. And he's got some really wonderful information to share with us tonight. And if you all have visited my channel on YouTube and gone to the community tab, there was a poll there for Mr. Master Photographer, and it was concerning reflections and blurring issues and, just some questions about maybe color and things like that when we take pictures and film video of our fish. So, Mr. Brad, sir, I appreciate you being here live with us tonight, and I hope that you are helping to share it out. And we are building an audience really slow, but at this time, I would love to introduce to you all my guest, none other than Mr. Master Photographer David Humphrey. Yay!
That and $10 will get you a good cup of coffee.
Welcome to the live stream.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And we've got two viewing at this time. So we're going to do some small talk right now while the audience is building. And
that's fine. Either that or my face scared them away.
No, really, there are some people that are excited, but there's a lot of live streams going on anymore. So you just have to pick your pocket and declare it.
And hope you hit it.
That's right. We got Monster Fish Gal in the house. Hey, Lori, how are you doing? And Brad says, I missed the poll, but you can go back to the community tab, Brad, and go ahead and make your choice. Probably should bring it up. So
or you can just ask your question. That's fine.
That's my problem. I need to go find out what my questions were. I'm terrible. I have no memory. It says in a couple weeks, my guest will be Master Photographer, who is David, and bring your questions on photography in the fish room or technique or equipment, understanding lighting and the I said iOS, ISO features, etc. with photography questions, or what photography questions do you have? And number one was how to capture fish without blurring, which was 45%. How to do away with reflections, which was 36%. Understanding color at 18%. So we know where we're falling, right, David?
Yep.
And then a few were saying all of the above. And good questions. And I posted using the smartphone versus professional cameras. And of course, that's going to depend on our level of interest and our pocketbook, correct?
Big time.
And then
big time pocketbook.
Yes, a big time pocketbook. But there's a way to do it to budget yourself. Yes. Chevy Fish also says all of the above, getting clear video and pics from her phone. All right. So I got caught up. And so Brad, you can go over there and make your selection now if you want to. It doesn't matter. What's leading is the reflections, I believe, wasn't it? Number one. Yeah. Oh, well, blurring was number one.
Blurring, yeah.
Yes, blurring was number one. And so he left to go do the poll. But I'd like to let you come at this time, David, to introduce yourself, even to those that may know you from being in some of my chats the last couple live streams, and then those who may not know you and may watch this later. So I'm going to let you have the screen.
Oh, boy.
I'm still here.
Well, just to prove I can read, it says Master Photographer, a.k.a. David M. Humphrey. That's my name. You can find me on YouTube, Facebook under David M. Humphrey. If you just go Dave Humphrey, you'll probably get my cousin. But you'll see this funky multicolored, profile picture. That's me. I am a certified master photographer through the Professional Photographers of America. I've been a professional photographer for 40 years. Retired 4 years ago by the grace of God. Was smart enough and lucky enough to be in the profession when you could make decent money at it. And, my goal was to retire by the time I was 60, and I was able to retire at 56. And now I setting up my aquarium again after I had two of them as a child. My dad was a high school biology teacher, but photography was my passion. And I was, God blessed me with a talent that I was fortunately able to use. So I tell people I hadn't gone to work in, over 30 years because I got paid to do my hobby, which was photography. And, when we're dealing with photography and, I'm combining two passions, which is photography and fish keeping. Now, if I could combine that also with metal detecting, I'd have the trifecta, but I don't think we're going to go there. But, I think the biggest question was, how do I get rid of these reflections? So I went out and found one of our local stores here in Michigan. It's a chain multi, grocery store, everything store, and asked the department manager if it was okay if I took some pictures for an educational video I was going to be working on. And they were like, certainly, that's fine, which I kind of half expected them to go, no, but they said, okay, and went in. And now all the pictures that I have sent Susan, we made some slides. They're all shot with my iPhone 11 Pro Max. I did not use any of my professional gear, which you really don't want to know what it is because it's obscenely expensive. But because it was my profession, I could justify the expense. Now that I'm retired, I have to earn money outside of the family to buy photo gear because my wife won't let me spend family money on it. But, we have three elements that make up our ability to create or capture an image in photography. Susan, can you put up that exposure triangle?
I'm going to try.
Okay.
Oh. I've just
and the three basic components are your shutter speed, your aperture, which is the lens opening, and then the ISO. Now, for those of you that have been around photography, we'll just say quite a while, you might say, well, used to say ASA. I said, yeah, it did, but that was the American Standard Association. Now it's the International Standard Organization. But the ISO is the speed that we set. Back in the film days, we would go to the store and give me a roll of 100, a roll of 400, and a roll of 1600. Well, 100 was meant for like bright, sunny days. 400 was kind of overcast days. 1600 was meant for maybe darker days, or when we wanted to use a fast shutter speed in order to stop motion. And when we're dealing in aquariums, light transmission in water drops very quickly. Basically, if I'm also a certified diver, but like the color red, like of my shirt, this red would only look like this in about the first 3 to 5 feet. After that, it starts turning to a dark kind of a maroon burgundy. And it's just because light rays, when it hits water, they scatter. Whereas just in the air, I mean, right now I've got a light focused on me, and if I wave my hand in front of it, it's like, oh, you can see that. If I did that in the water, you'd barely be able to tell because the rays of light are bouncing around off the water molecules. And that creates a special problem for us because we say, oh, I want to stop the motion, which means we need a higher shutter speed. Now, my iPhone 11 Pro Max, I went into the settings and I really can't control the shutter speed on it, nor can I control the ISO. It's so many of the controls are automated now, even on some of the, the single lens reflex cameras where you can, have interchangeable lenses. You've got, I just totally lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
No, not you. It's ADD.
Backtrack.
You've got different lenses, and goodness gracious, I hate when this happens. Old age. I got old timer's disease.
That's all right. Just breathe.
But we want a fast shutter speed, and which means, okay, that means we need a faster lens. So then we have to have a lens that has like a 2.0 or a 2.8. If you got a lens that's like a 5.6 or a 6.3, those aren't fast lenses. But most of the cell phones, and even a lot of the, what I call the pocket Instamatic, the pocket cameras, they have an automation function that chooses kind of everything for you, which that's fine. It's like, if you've never cooked before and you're going, oh, I've got to go and make dinner. And you're going, well, gee, do I boil it, bake it, fry it? Well, the camera's on auto mode. It's kind of like, here, we're just going to throw a hamburger in the microwave and just go click and finish when it's done. Automatic is fine when you're learning, but there's going to be a time where automatic is not going to serve your purposes. You need to be able to control the exposure, what your camera's doing. I'll be very honest with you. If I use anything other than manual on my cameras, it's probably someplace where, like if it's a sporting event, okay, I'll set, all right, I want to stop motion, which means if somebody's running, I'm going to want to be at like a 500th or 1,000th of a second if I really want to freeze that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, I'm going to let the camera pick the aperture for the lens, but then I'm going to set my ISO setting up probably around 1,600 to 1,800, maybe 3,200. It's the thing that you want to remember. Susan, can you bring that graphic back up for us, please? The ISO, the higher you get up, like here to the right, it says, high sensitivity, more noise. And my main professional camera is a Sony A7R4. Now that's about a $4,000 camera, basically. But and I can crank that up to, I did it all the way to the maximum, which I believe was 128,000. And I thought, ooh, I want to see this. I didn't want to see it. It was kind of like looking through a bowl of oatmeal. I mean, it was nasty. It's like, there's no way this is going to look good, even on just trying to put something out on the internet, which is basically at 72 DPI. To control the motion of the fish, and the few images that we have, I think we have maybe 5 or 6 slides, and most of the slides have 2 images on them. I shot over 70 pictures in probably about 45 minutes to an hour to get those that were usable. And I'm going, oh, great. I'm supposed to be a master photographer, and you can't stop the motion of the fish either. Well, not with the iPhone. I am going to take my professional gear back and use a few more bells and whistles. But I was able to solve some of the major problems, specifically reflections. And, you listen to any YouTuber that's a fish nerd, and you see stuff behind them, there's reflections in their tank, unless they have great dark material. And it's a challenge because there's nothing worse than you get your favorite fish to come into view and it stops at just that right moment. You take the picture and you go, yeah, what are all those polka dots? Oh, that's the lights in the ceiling. It's frustrating. And I've also been a college professor for photography, and I have spoken at numerous national and international conventions across the country, even out of the country. And, universally, photographers, they don't want blurry pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Whether the subject's moving or the camera's moving, they want to go, all right, how do I stop this? So we learned that shutter speed is how we stop motion. Now, people go, oh, well, all I have to do is turn up the shutter speed. Well, that little exposure triangle that we just had, you can turn the shutter speed up to, 2,000th of a second. But if you're outside on a cloudy, overcast day, and, let's say, all right, I'm going to set it up here, up near the top. Boy, that green is a nasty color to see. Okay.
1 to
There is,
1,000.
was that 1/1000th?
Yeah.
Okay. 1,000th of a second. Well, you see what's right next to it? There's that f4. Well, if we slide down here and we come down to where this blue line is, and if we go to, 1,000th of a second at f4, we slide down and it's going to be maybe at an ISO of 200. Now, if it's a dark overcast day, we may not, and our lens is only an f4 lens. Well, that means I've got to come over here on the right side, that halfway spot between 2.8 and 5.6. That's about where f4 is going to be. Well, now we take that down, and at 1/1000th of a second, now we have to have ISO 800. Each time you double something, you require twice the amount of light to get the same visual image as far as your density. And the apertures, the smaller the number, the bigger the opening. Why that is, there's a scientific explanation, but I've always thought, why didn't they just make the biggest number with the biggest hole? But no, they didn't do that. But, this exposure triangle, and I'm not going to dwell a lot on this because that's a little more advanced. Those of you that may be familiar with it, that's fine. You can message me through Facebook. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But, and Susan, how late are we going tonight? Just an hour?
Yes. We'll probably close out around 7. Yeah.
Around 7. Okay. Well, we've taken up 20 minutes there of
That's okay.
the basics.
That's the basics.
Yeah, but that's how you want to stop fish from moving. You need more light, which lets us use a wider aperture but a faster shutter speed. Now, cameras are going, your cell phone, it's going to average out what it thinks is the best. Mm-hmm. And the bad thing about that is you're not in control of it. Those of you that have been fish keepers for a number of years, are you just going to let, your air filter decide what you need in there as far as, fertilizer and food? I don't think so. You want to be able to control what is going on in that environment. And your tank is no different than a camera. We're going to create something inside that camera on that image sensor, just like you're creating something inside your aquarium. And there's not really a good I know there's auto water changes, but you want to be in control of what's going on there so that you don't have any unhappy accidents. Susan, can you bring up that first slide that we created? Okay. Now, on the right side, if you see like the areas where I circled in the red, you can see like the reflection of the shelves in the background, and my ugly mug's actually in there too. But fortunately, I'm kind of behind the green plant or in front of it. But these are reflections not only coming off the front of the glass, but the back of the glass in the back of the tank. And I know a lot of people paint the backs of their tanks, blue or black. I'm leaning towards I like the black style, but the inside of that glass is still shiny. That's still going to give you a real sharp reflection. And I was looking on Amazon, and there are several different types of and Susan, I think you mentioned like a tank divider.
Yes.
That was flat black.
Yes,
just
made by
slide that down in
Flints.
On the back side, so it's basically parallel with the back of your tank. That's going to knock those reflections down, and that's going to remove one of your biggest headaches. Now, if you notice over here on the left, we got rid of the reflections, although there is a little tiny bit down in this bottom left-hand corner. It looks just a little cloudy. But I was wearing my winter jacket, and it's a camouflaged Army BDU jacket. I was never in the service. I do not want to steal anybody's valor. Anybody that has served, you have my undying respect and gratitude because of what you do and what they do. I'm able to sit back here and do photography and play with my fish now. But I was able to get rid of most of the reflections on the front of the tank. Now there are some scratches there, and you'll also notice algae. So if you're going to do photography in your tank, first thing first, make sure you clean the front of the glass and then also clean the outside.
Yes.
Because reflections, they're there, and that's the nature of a polished surface. Anti-glare tape or for glaze or glass will reduce the reflection. And two background lighting can cause it. Yes. And if you notice, I caught this. Is that a yellow lab? I think.
Yes, I think so.
Okay. He had been kind of darting around, but he pulled in long enough and slow enough for me to go after about 10 times. So just because he's a master. Look, he made it look easy. Oh no, this was very frustrating because the guy thought I was going to be like 5 minutes in and out, and he goes, "Oh, you're still here?" I said, "Yeah, I'm still trying to get a picture." He says, "I thought you were lecturing on this." I said, "I am." He says, "You're a professional?" I said, "Yeah, college professor too in the past." He goes, "You're not done yet?" I said, "Nope." Because I want real world experience. And I thought, you know what, 90%, excuse me, I misquoted that. I believe now it's up to about 97% of all of the photograph or images that are captured on cell phones. Because everybody has one, and every cell phone has a camera on it. Dinosaurs like me that are lugging around the 50-pound camera bag with lenses and filters and everything in it but the kitchen sink, and as heavy as mine is, it wouldn't surprise me if the kitchen sink is in there. But it's what's handy. So if we're going to have a tool that we're going to use, we need to make sure we know how to use it. Let's go to that second slide, Susan. And now here's another example. Look here on the left. You can make out my hat and the edge of my jacket down here, coming down off the tail of this grommy in the center, and then all those lights in the store. Well, and of course, being a big guy, I got big inside of the jacket too. Well, I'm sitting there and I pull my jacket out, holding it out here to the side, and I'm holding my cell phone, and the guy's looking at me like, "What are you doing?" Well, I showed him the image on the right and then the image on the left, and he's like, "Oh, wow. That's now, if you don't want to lug a big jacket around, go to a fabric, your fabric store, get a piece of flat, just black cotton material. And, whatever the width of your tank is, get it twice that wide. And then by whatever width it comes, most of them are like 45 to 52-inch widths.
You said like
and what
put
you
it on
can
a curtain
do
rod?
is, yeah, just a curtain rod, and you can rest it on a couple of chairs, or you can hang it from some fishing line and some thumbtacks in your ceiling if your wife doesn't find out about it. And if your wife finds out about it, Susan will kindly go back and erase that part of the audio. Because otherwise my wife will hear it and she'll go, "What in the world are you telling that for?"
Edit time.
But it's easy. And what you can do is you can cut just a small hole in the center of it. I've got a tarp that I set up out in my back patio when I photograph birds. And that tarp is 10 feet tall and 20 feet wide. And I've got a 6-inch hole right in the center that the end of my lens sticks through. And that way I can pivot back and forth, but the birds don't see me. Well, that black material is going to stop the reflections, because even your tank is lit, okay? And if you've got a highlight tank and you're up real close and you're wearing a white shirt, I guarantee you're going to show up in that picture someplace, especially if you're trying to do a whole wide shot of your tank. So, if you're going to do that, wear dark, solid colors.
Nice.
That's the best advice that I can give you. Because see, even here, it's a tan colored, it's a Tilly hat. Question: can glare film cam help the issues at lowest cost way for those who can't invest in a better cam? Glare film.
Not too familiar with.
As far as the front of your tank, you don't want to put something on there, because anything you attach to the front of your tank is going to distort it. But like we were mentioning earlier, for stuff shining off the back of the tank, you can a 12-inch by 12-inch piece of black plastic shouldn't cost you more than a couple of dollars. The black material, in fact, I just had a friend that she loves thrifting, and she went and she bought all kinds of materials at the Goodwill store. Well, even if you go to a fabric store, get the cheapest black material that they have, even if it's $2 a yard. A yard of it, 2 yards of it will cover anything that you would ever need. And, or you wait till you get one of those coupons, 30% off. You can do this very inexpensively. You do not have to have thousands of dollars worth of gear to get some nice images of your fish. There may be some that you might get better images with better gear, but we all have a budget that we have to live within. Food, clothing, and shelter. Mm-hmm. Notice I didn't mention camera gear in there. My wife was very fond of mentioning that fact also. But, don't go into debt doing anything. I mean, when I first started researching coming back into the hobby, I was looking at those zebra plecos and I thought, wow, those are cool. And then I found out how much they are. And I found out from listening to Dean, Master Breeder Dean, how persnickety they can be. And Bentley Pasco, he was raising them and his tank parameters went out and boom, they all went. Nothing like killing a few $1,000s worth of fish to make you go, I don't like this anymore. So, we just have to be careful. Let's bring up the next slide. Okay. Yep, that's the one we just had.
Yeah.
Okay. Now this one, somebody asked me, well, what if we don't have money to buy the material? all I did on this image on the left, that's just shot straight into the tank. Obviously, you can see the lights from the store. This image on the right, all I did was raise my camera up and shoot down more.
Yeah.
And that allowed, and I kind of presented kind of a dark object in the front. And, you know, that got rid of the reflections.
That's
And,
great.
you know, that's a cheap fix. It doesn't cost anything.
I've done that
But
before.
yeah, and the thing is that, you know, people say, well, does it have to be black material? I said, no, the inside lining of my coat's green. It's a dark green. You know, dark army green. Any solid darker color will work.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you know, blue, brown, obviously green works. But, you know, you just have to be careful with what you're getting in there. Now, also, if you notice the color of the gravel in these two images, the one on the left's got a lot of yellow in it.
Mm-hmm.
The one on the right, not as much. Well, look how much of that blue background is in the image on the left and how much, there's a lot less of it on the right. Another thing with, you know, auto cameras, you know, all they look at is color and go, ooh, there's a lot of blue. I need to add yellow. Well, we have yellow there.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I shot down and it kind of focused, and most cameras are what they call center weighted, where it looks at what's in the center of the lens and tries to adjust the exposure and the color setting for that. Well, by focusing on this neutral gravel in the center and the black fish, it gave me a much truer color. So that saves you having the color correct. And one thing I didn't realize when I was starting to get back into this hobby was I was seeing some really incredible Philippine blue angels that were like black, and they had like these almost bright neon blue spots on them. Now, if I'd been talking with photographers, excuse me, my nose itches, I would have gone, yeah, they just tweaked the color in Photoshop. I didn't think fish people were doing that. Wrong. So, you know, when you see really colors that look too good to be true, even in the fish, unless it's on a video and hasn't been tweaked, somebody may be pulling your leg a little. And so that's something you need to be aware of. And the other thing with reflections, the angle of incidence equals the angle of reflectance. I never wanted anything to do with physics in high school or college or chemistry. And I got into a profession that's a physical science. And at one time I had a full-blown fine art black and white darkroom set up in my basement. So I had to understand chemistry. And I swore I would never do anything with computers. Well, along comes digital, and I end up networking 11 computers in my studio. So you be careful what you tell God you don't want to do, because he'll go, oh, really? Let's see how this works.
11 computers. Woo.
Oh, I ran more Cat 5 cable and Quakers got oats, I think. At least I felt like it. You know, it's crazy how many, you know, the more you get into things. And again, you know, I just thought, well, I'm going to set my aquarium back up, but I love all these cool plants. Well, now I'm finding out I have to have fertilizer and different lights and different substrates and different temperatures. And then I'm looking, oh, well, I want this fish, and this fish. And I'm going, okay, this fish and this fish are like on opposite ends of the scale of what they need. So I've had to adjust things so that more things kind of fit within those same parameters. And, you know, it's all about education.
It is.
And I'm still learning, believe me. Even as a professional photographer, if I go to like our national or international convention, I'll still send in a program with some people like, you've been a master photographer for like 97, for 23 years. What are you doing in this program? It said, I can learn something from anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I might talk with one of you about, you know, a tank or something and go, Oh, I didn't think of that. That's a great idea. I'm going to put that on my notes to do in mine. Um, so it's just never anybody that thinks they've learned it all has set themselves up for failure because it you know it just doesn't happen. And and nobody's perfect. I would joke with my students. I said there was one perfect person, and they crucified him. We Perfection is not what I consider attainable. What I strive for is excellence in what I do, and that allows for. And we're human. We're going to do the best we can at times, and at times we're not. But we can't hold ourselves to such a high standard that we can't meet it, because all we're going to do is set ourselves up for disappointment. That's like trying to keep real fancy, expensive fish that are real sensitive. And, I'm just starting out and this is what I want. I just spent $200 on fish and they're dead on day 3. Not a good idea. Same thing with somebody going, oh, well, I need to go out and buy all this camera gear. No, learn to use the gear that you have already. If it's your phone, learn to use your phone. Do everything you can to make that phone create the pictures that you want to create. And once you have that, and then you're going, well, if I had this and I want this, well, that's when you put it on your Christmas list.
Mm-hmm.
Or you save up your money and you gradually buy. And the one thing I'll tell you right now, when it comes to camera gear, the best thing to invest your money in first is a good lens. I was a Canon user for years. I've got all Canon L series glass, which is their most expensive glass. Yeah, you're going to pay $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 and up for a lens. But they only redesign lenses maybe once every 4 to 8, maybe 10 years. They come out with a new camera about every 18 months. And you'll play catch up. Or what you do is when somebody comes out with a new camera body, you buy the camera body that's 1 or 2 generations back, because that camera that was new, like maybe it was $2,500 new, now you're going to pick it up for about $500 or $600, maybe more, maybe less. So you've got an ability to save money by buying professional gear. And, look at the gear. Does it look like it's been drugged through the gravel? Well, maybe they didn't take that good a care of it. But trust me, somebody that spends, $2,000 on a lens, they're going to take good care of it. So you're not going to necessarily see a lot of dings and a lot of nicks. There's just so much that you can do to get into the hobby. And, just like aquariums. I mean, I'm seeing some stuff that Corey at Aquarium Co-op, he's got an 800-gallon tank. Well, who in their right mind would go out and let's say our child wants a tank. Oh, let's get an 800-gallon tank. No, let's start off with a 5-gallon or a 10-gallon. Start small and work your way up. Susan, can you bring up that next image?
Sure. Had to step out for a minute.
Okay, that's okay. Now, I was talking about, color. Well, this, I think this is a dwarf Grammy.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, forgive me if I don't have all the names right.
You're doing good.
But there was enough of that tag in that plant for the sensor in my iPhone to go, oh, there's white there. Well, that lens, that gravel looks a lot better than, over here on these tanks on the side. It's green, brown. And it's because of that blue. A camera goes, oh, a lot of blue. I need yellow. So it gives everything kind of an amber cast. And, the beautiful thing with the technology that's in our cameras now, in our cell phones, it'll color correct for like tungsten lighting. But back in the film days, if you took your film that was, quote, daylight balanced and took a picture of your family inside by the lights in your house, you got that image printed, and it's like, I don't remember inviting the Great Pumpkin to my family outing. How did this all get orange? Because our brain, the sensors in our cameras now are like our brain. Our brain goes, oh, wait, that's a white shirt. Color temperature is different. Tilt, shift. Now we're going to make everything look so that white shirt is white. And so, cameras can lie to us really well. In fact, those of us that are, as I like to say, a little extra insulated, there are certain camera angles and certain lenses that are very flattering to us. There are certain lenses, like wide angle lenses, that if you use it wrong, and I would have, I ran the #1 studio for high school seniors in Michigan from 2003 to 2016. And at one point, I was one of the top 10 ranked high school senior portrait photographers in the country. Well, I learned how to use lenses at the proper distance, at the proper height, vertically. You want to make somebody look tall, shoot real low to the ground. You want to make somebody that's heavier look thinner, shoot slightly higher with a slightly wider angle lens, because a wide angle lens, if you notice in some of those images in the fish tank, that back of that tank looks like it's like this, not like this. And, lens selection, I mean, people are going, yeah, you're going to make my brain hurt. Stop. No, this is not to make your brain hurt. This is to make you start asking some questions and asking the right questions. Feel free to email me. I will answer them as quickly as I can. I am up here in Michigan. I had a friend that attempted suicide, unfortunately. He was a Vietnam vet the end of July, and I am the medical and durable power of attorney for him. And I have various doctor's appointments and things that I have to be at. And also he was a hoarder. It took us 3 months to clear out an 800 square foot house. He has a almost 1,000 square foot garage. Hopefully that goes quicker. But what's our next slide, Susan?
Coming back over. Let's see.
Are we on our last one or getting close to our last one?
Yeah, I think this is maybe the last one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is our last one. Now, obviously, there it is on the left. You can see all the store lights, the shelves, my hat, but in the middle, just nice tiger barb that's looking really cool. Well, just because the camera takes a big picture doesn't mean we can't only show this much of it. I mean, there it's like, and we got this one other barb down here in the corner kind of coming back up. It's like, wow, that's a pretty nice composition. How do you do that? Well, I threw away 90% of the garbage around it. Mm-hmm. Again, if money's an issue, just wear a dark colored solid shirt. And if you're in close enough to your tank and your phone has enough resolution, you're going to be able to crop out some of that other areas that are distracting. And I'll be honest with you, 90% of the people that take images only share them online. You don't need a huge image file to share a picture online and have a nice image that doesn't look grainy. Now, the one thing some people try and do is they try and get real close. Well, some of the cameras, they have a minimum focusing distance. And, the smaller the chip that's in the recording device, the closer you can get. I mean, some of these images, I'm, maybe 4 or 5 inches away. Some of them, in fact, I went out today and shot some more. I think Susan, I sent those to her. I don't know if there should be one more slide, I hope, assuming it got through the email. But, you can crop out what you don't like, or you can put a frame around it, a decorative frame, anything that you can do just to get that one image of your favorite fish, to look its best. Now, if you're trying to do the whole tank, and you're into aquascaping, which is what I want to go into, you got to have a way to block out a lot more light. And I'm gonna be setting up a 75-gallon once my daughter gets her house built and moves out of my office and my fish room. But right now, my wife kind of likes having a daughter there more than fish. Susan, did you get that last image that I sent? It was of like 3 images.
Yes, the first video.
We got the videos too. Okay. Somebody had asked about videos and reflections, and you're going to see some really, and I'm going to say probably, now that's a bad example. Look how quick that moves on that screen. Now that's standing still, but as you turn, you get the perspective, and now it gets wonky. And there's another one where, okay, yep.
I was repeating it, yeah.
Okay. Now the next one is one where I was kind of walking by it.
I'll let you narrate. I'm muted.
Yep. And you can see that, okay, it was kind of bobbing, and now as it goes back the other way,
I'm going to replay.
There should be another one.
This is a replay of that one.
This is a replay of that one. Okay.
You slowed down.
You can tell where I'm taking a step. They make what they call a slider. For those of you that are cost conscious, don't even mess with it. Set up a flat table with something that you can set your phone on and camera and pull it across with a string. MacGyver it.
Yep.
Now, where's the other? Is this the next one? Okay.
This is the correct one.
Okay. This one, I'm walking slower, but look, you can tell as my body moves, as I step, it's going up and down, and this drives me nuts.
Yeah, the in and out and the up and down.
The in and out and the stepping, and it's like, and if you look down low, you can actually see my legs moving in the reflection. Just not the best way. Now, what's our next one? Okay, this one, I literally held the camera up, or the cell phone up against the glass.
It's on the glass.
It's right on the glass. And if you would hear the audio, you can kind of hear it. Susan came up with a great idea, just putting, some felt on there, and it wouldn't make noise. But this was just holding it still, letting us see like, oh, okay. And, it kind of grabs whatever comes in front of us. And
like you were talking about the minimal recording distance, those that are not right up next to the glass, next to the lens, are clear. But with the closer they get to the phone, they blur.
The closer they get to the phone, you're going to have more problems with motion plus lack of focus. Okay, let's switch to the next one.
Okay.
There's one that I did, this is a time lapse. That was 1 second. And people go, oh, I'll do a time lapse. You see how jumpy that is? Also, notice that I have photographed in portrait mode, not landscape. That's another common thing. People go, oh, my phone, I hold it like this. No, you turn it sideways. But I wanted to show you guys and let you people, that turn sideways. That's like, 35 millimeter cameras. Everybody used to hold them in landscape mode. Well, if you're shooting a single person this way, why cut them off at the waist and have a bunch of junk on either side unless that's part of the story? Turn it, they turn. Let's go to the next one. Okay, this one I actually panned. If this is the one I just panned slowly across the surface of the tank. And people go like, wow, how did you do that? Did you have a slider? I said, no, I had the front of an aquarium. it doesn't move. It lets us just move that phone gradually across. Now, yes, it would have been better if I had turned to landscape mode. But, and now you see some really nice scratches there. But that's another, just a little trick that we can use so that we're not making people seasick. And then you get the last image that I set that had the 3 pictures.
I didn't get that.
You didn't? Oh no.
Do you have it on your computer?
Yes, I do. Let me
We
grab an email here real quick.
About 8 minutes, so any questions in the audience? I appreciate those that have hung out with us and asked questions and even given some suggestions. So if there's any questions that you have about taking pictures of your fish in the aquarium, some people remove their fish from their aquarium into a all glass container, which can stress your fish out. And you really don't get the good color unless you've put some kind of backing around that glass jar. And, sometimes you still don't get the full color that fish can put off.
Okay. The email is up and away.
All right.
And yes, like a breeder box, personally, I wouldn't put a fish into a box that it can at least do a 360 in, because then they're going to get stressed. And when we all know what happens, fish get stressed, their color starts disappearing. So that's just not a good thing. So yeah, get yourself a breeder box and, scoop them out, put them in that, and that way you can control. And now I can hear somebody going, but wait, don't those have shiny surfaces? Yes, they do. So maybe in the back of the breeder box, you get a small piece of that flat black plastic and just kind of, stick it in there with a little double-sided tape. It'll last underwater long enough for you to get your pictures, but that'll at least reduce down one surface. Now you still have the surface of your glass, then the surface of the breeder box. So you still got 2 surfaces there that you've got to worry about, but it's a much, much smaller, issue to have to deal with. And Susan is, running to her email and
it's
getting that. It's not here. Oh, geez.
I know it. I keep refreshing.
I'm pretty sure it left me. Let me look at sent. Pictures. Why is this not out? All right. No, it should. It says sent.
It's Yahoo.
Oh, okay. Well, plus that, and this whole little human malware virus that we have going on. Everybody's on their computers, so everything slows down a little. Were there any questions? I'm looking here at comments on the side. Anything I haven't touched on, you got a question on? Or are you just going, Susan, why did you have this bozo on?
No. I just, those that participated in the poll, there was 13 votes. So
okay.
I think,
That's good.
Yeah, there was 13 votes.
That's good. I mean, and the other beautiful thing about having a smaller channel, you can get your questions answered.
Yes.
If you go to Corey's channel, Aquarium Co-op, even if you super chat, that thing is on and gone in like 30 seconds.
That's true.
I mean, it's just hard to deal with that. Bentley Pasco actually gives out his email address, and which I think is pretty kind of gutsy. But and I'm giving that, like, if you go to facebook.com/ and you type David M. Humphrey, no spaces, no dot, that'll take you to my Facebook page. Maybe send me a message that, hey, from SLC Aquatics on YouTube, because I do get a lot of friend requests and I don't approve all of them unless we have some connection, either hobby or family or friends.
Yeah, that's my email there that I share with people, and
Okay.
I also so if you have questions for David, you can refer them to me, and I'll forward them to him, or like he said, you can go to Facebook. I did have you up at one time, but I took you down. I was
Well,
going
that's
to
okay.
share.
That's
Um,
fine.
in the description is your Instagram link,
Yes.
and if
Which I'm
anybody,
still in the process of loading images up there, but that's a lot of my fine art photography. Not really any of my high school senior portraits. There's some of that on my Facebook page. And I still have my master's photography page on Facebook, but I don't want to be inundated with people calling, wanting to book sessions and things. It's like, no, I don't do that.
well, that
Did that
it didn't come in.
it didn't come in?
No.
I'm sorry. Anyway, what it was, I took 3 different images with the little flash on my cell phone. And as you can imagine, what happens when you aim a flash into a shiny surface? You get bounce back. Well, there's one where I'm standing farther back and the spot in the image is only about that big.
Oh, I
Well,
got
there's
it.
one where I'm about, maybe 4 inches, and now the flash is like this big, but it's like off up in this corner. And I thought, hey, if we put it right against the glass, it'll go around the lens. Wrong. It refracts off the glass, off every minute scratch, anything. And like a third of the image was just this big white blob. So, what I can tell you, do not use a flash that is on your device or on your camera. It's not going to work. If you've ever done like underwater photography, you go someplace on a vacation and you rent an underwater camera. Well, if you notice, some of them, they have like this bar and then there's a light off to the side. And that's because the light's coming in from an angle. And as the light comes across, you get less backscatter from all the debris that's in the water. There it is. There we go.
It went to spam.
It went to Spain. Oh, geez.
It said
Well,
something was offensive in it, so I don't know.
on camera flash. I said, well, camera flash. Maybe it thought it was like a flashing picture. Jeez, oh, Pete. Yeah, the fact that we have to think in certain veins so that we don't get blocked is just kind of nuts, in my humble opinion. But here you see, and then I thought, well, an oblique angle should get rid of that flash. No, it doesn't. It's still there. It just doesn't work well. And that's probably not why many. Oh, okay. Are there any other questions? I don't want to. I mean, we're like a minute away.
Yeah, a lot of them have left us. There's still 4 with us, but there aren't any questions. And I will be doing another poll on my community tab.
Okay.
And if there are any questions, we will do a second series. And if you if you bring your questions, then David will be glad to cover that information for you. But David, for today,
absolutely,
I want to say thank you so much for being my special guest.
Oh, you're welcome.
And bringing.
You just need a better choice in friends.
I mean, you have to pick and choose, and like we discussed, this data is for those who really want to do some serious work with their fish keeping. And some of us have we're YouTube creators, so YouTube doesn't want blurry pictures and
no, not at all,
unintelligible data. So these are some really great pointers, and I learned some things tonight, especially on that triangle spectrum about aperture.
Oh, the exposure triangle.
Yeah, the exposure triangle. And even you can take that information and use it with your plants, and how many lumens.
Any
what
kind
happens?
Of photography. Yes,
photography.
Those rules are universal.
Yes.
And all three of those elements have to meet together in order to have a well-exposed image.
This was very interesting. I will have to go back and watch from the beginning. That's
Punchy
Pam.
pants.
And then
I've
Brad.
seen that name on on a lot of other streams. In fact, I'm recognizing a lot of different names here that I've seen in other streams.
And Dragon Lair was Patrick. He says,
Yep.
thanks for having David on. And Mr. Fish, Sir Brad, I enjoyed what he had to say. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Yep.
I love my passion. One of my passions is sharing the knowledge that I have and helping others.
And we appreciate that. You fit right into the fish fam community.
Yes.
And so if y'all have any questions, think about it and shoot me an email or go to Facebook. If you have a Facebook account, look up David M. Humphrey and hit him up.
Or even if they post a comment, I can reply to their comment on yours. I can do that as well.
Yes, you can. You can comment on this video. And here's what Melvin has to say. Very interesting live stream, Susan of SLC. Thanks for sharing. You're welcome, Melvin. So again, we want to say thank you. This is Susan and David from SLC Aquatics. And we'll be signing off. God bless you all, and we love you.
Have a blessed evening.